Well, somewhere there are the answers. I just want you to repeat something you said in the last hour for people who may have just joined us. And that goes to the speed with which, or at least the relative speed with which, we are getting information this time about, as opposed to 17 years ago.
It's just stunning. It is stunning how forthcoming NASA is this go-around. They are, as I said earlier, you get the sense that they're sharing their theories with us. Post-Challenger, the agency was not forthcoming whatsoever. As a matter of fact, reporters had the sense that they were stonewalling. And in fact, they were, because at its core, NASA had some serious problems to contend with after Challenger.
Miles, thank you. Miles O'Brien, who will be covering this investigation we suspect for a long time to come. Thank you very much. We're joined now by Randy Avira, who's a former NASA engineer, a member of the team that built all five of the shuttle orbiters. He was also one of the investigators in the Challenger tragedy, and so he has had nights like this before in a way that most of us have not. Randy, it's good to see you. Are there lessons from the Challenger investigation, not the Challenger accident, because they were obviously very different accidents, but from the investigation itself that can be applied here?
Absolutely. The experience of that investigation, part of the investigation was to document the process, and also, if you recall, the National Space Transportation System, what we used to call the disciples. There were 12 or 13 folks that after return to flight, you recall the Discovery return to flight STS-107 mission, there was a management and astronaut review team that was overseeing the processing of the orbiters and the shuttle and the decision to launch decision of the day of launch. So there were a lot of things that changed during and after. Those procedures are in place at NASA, and that's what's really happening right now, is the execution of those procedures, which were developed then and are being further refined as we go through this. After this investigation, there will be a look back again at not only the crash of Columbia, but also to compare it back to Challenger as we've been doing here, to find all the lessons learned from 1986 and also from 2003.
One of the, if I remember this, it's a long time ago for me, but one of the lessons, it seems to me, in the previous investigation, the Challenger investigation, is be careful, your eyes can deceive you. The video, it may not lie, but it doesn't give you a precisely accurate picture either.
Our eyes are very powerful sensors to tell our brains what we think we saw. The procedure and the pure science, the physics and chemistry and material sciences that are required to investigate such an event, those are very precise sciences, and the scientists and engineers that will be involved with that, and the reporters and all the different various services that are going to be required to document and report and archive this, everybody's important. It's going to really take every individual to do what they can to contribute to this country, and also to support the NASA administrator and the NASA team that are going through this incredible emotional and tragic time.
Let me ask an uncomfortable question here. Do you think that the shuttle itself is obsolete? This is an old craft. It has never been precisely what it was designed to do in a lot of ways in terms of turnaround and the like. Is it now obsolete, and do we as a country have to make a decision about whether we want to start again on a different kind of craft to take us into space?
What I've proposed to the U.S. Congress, the House of Representatives, the Senate, and also the White House is to not only come up with new designs of propulsion and avionics, flight control and navigation systems, but also to have a blended fleet. For example, when I left NASA in '91, Congress canceled the Shuttle C program. It was a cargo version to haul heavy cargoes to low Earth orbit. Without those types of heavy lift vehicles, we're limited in what we can do, and it's the unmanned and manned and heavy lift vehicle blend that is really talked about. It's what the Title 42 of the Public Health and Welfare Codes, where the NASA Charter is located, That's what it's talking about when you read that word from 1958 that NASA must have rockets. Well, we're really, in 2003, we're talking about a diverse fleet of vehicles to provide routine access to low Earth orbit and beyond to the space probes that are going beyond the solar system nowadays.
Randy, thanks for your time tonight and for your help for all of us across the weekend and in the days ahead. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And our special coverage of the shuttle disaster will continue in a moment with a look at the effects it may have on the astronauts who are still in space, people aboard the International Space Station. And later we'll talk with Congressman James Sensenbrenner, who has been on congressional committees dealing with space programs and who was on the committee that looked into the Challenger accident. A Sunday night in Houston. This is Newsnight on CNN. Joining us now in Milwaukee is Republican Congressman James Sensenbrenner of Wisconsin, who oversaw the Challenger investigation 17 years ago. Congressman, it's good to see you and talk with you again. Hard to imagine, I suppose, sir, that you're involved yet again in another one of these tragedies, but here we are. What is it that you most want to know? Is there one, I don't mean, you know, what happened. We all want to know what happened. Is there a specific piece of information you want to know right now?
No, I really don't need a specific piece of information. The NASA investigation has got to be thorough and comprehensive and have credibility. And I think NASA's job is to tell us what happened and how it happened. But I also think that President Bush should follow what President Reagan did 17 years ago and have a blue ribbon commission overseeing the NASA results to tell us why it happened and what changes that need to be made to NASA's internal procedures. Then Congress should get involved and decide what type of policy and legislative changes are necessary. Now, I think that the next stage of human spaceflight has got to be determined right now. The shuttle is 35-year-old technology. We've lost 2 of the 5 orbiters. They're expensive to operate. 1 million sign-offs are needed for every shuttle flight. And I think the time has come to commit America to developing a single stage-to-orbit space plane, if you will, which will be cheaper to build, cheaper to operate, and much, much safer because it won't have as many parts that could possibly go wrong.
One of the questions that is sure to come up is that NASA, because of budgetary reasons, was essentially robbing Peter to pay Paul all over the place, that sometimes upgrades were put off because something else seemed more important. Does Congress bear any responsibility in the budgeting process for how NASA was able to fund the shuttle program?
The answer is yes, Congress does bear responsibility. And I complained for 10 years when I was on the Science Committee against robbing the shuttle budget to pay for Russian delays in the International Space Station. And the Clinton administration combined the shuttle and the station accounts as a way of hiding these fund transfers. I was also concerned and got the General Accounting Office to do an investigation on having workers at the Kennedy Space Center laid off. And the institutional memory, particularly those that went through Challenger and did the corrections following Challenger to get the shuttle flying again, there wasn't enough money to pay for most of those people. You know, I hope that none of these tricks ended up causing this disaster, but that's why I think that there has got to be some type of outside review, because NASA can't do that, and it's institutionally incapable of doing that. We can find out the technical details from NASA, but where the policy failures have occurred in the last 10 years is going to require a prestigious panel like the Rogers Commission did in 1986.
Final question, sir. Do you think that we need a goal? We were talking with Gene Cernan a few moments ago, that we need a grand goal, a man on the moon kind of goal, to not simply to get members of Congress excited, to get administrations excited, but to get people in Cleveland and Milwaukee and Minneapolis and everywhere else in the country excited about what space means.
I don't think we need a grand goal. I think we need greater emphasis on science. And unfortunately, the way the station has been stripped down, the scientific use of that is getting less and less. When I chaired the Science Committee, Dr. Michael DeBakey, who is one of the premier physicians in our country, testified that the type of microgravity research that can be done in space by human beings has the potential of unlocking the secrets of the human immune system. Now, that's the cure for cancer and AIDS. And it seems to me that that is a goal that the American public and the people of the world would probably understand a lot better than sending somebody back to the moon.
Congressman, it's good to talk to you about this. I wish the occasion were better. Thank you. Congressman
So do I. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you. Congressman James Sensenbrenner of state of Wisconsin joining us from Milwaukee tonight.